and welcome to the Spiritual and Empowerment Living with Tia podcast, a sacred place and resource for spiritually centered women who want to go from the mundane to the magical life, for overcoming fear and doubt, reconnecting with the goddess, understanding messages from spirit, and uncovering your spiritual gifts so you can finally live the life you deserve.
Hello there, spiritual trailblazer. Welcome to this episode, Power Moves, the New Moon, Goddess Hecate, and you. I like this episode. I know I say I like a lot of my episodes, but I like this one because I believe this is the first time I'm introducing you to Goddess Hecate here. So that's going to be pretty cool. All right. I wanted to start off, originally, I was going to start off with doing a mental and emotional check with you, but I want to go back a little bit further and express my gratitude because I like to do that as often as possible. I know in previous episodes, I would start off right in the beginning, just expressing my appreciation for you tuning into my podcast. And I want to thank you even more because I know that this time is rough for a lot of people. As I've been saying on my Instagram, everyone is going through a different experience at this time. So I just want to acknowledge that you are giving me something that is of the utmost, of the precious, I don't want to say commodity, but it's the most precious thing on this planet, and that's your time. You can't get it back. It can't be recycled. It can't be repurposed, refurbished, or anything like that. So thank you for tuning in as often as you can. And thank you when you share the information of this podcast with your friends, family, coworkers, etc. So I just want to say thank you for that. It's not easy to tune in to, especially a podcast that deals with spirituality and helping you get on that path and stay on the path of, peeling back the layers of yourself and looking at different aspects of yourself. Okay, so thank you, especially during this time. I just want to say thank you. So let's move on to the mental and emotional check. So remember, I've been saying I'm going to do my part as best I can. And I know I've been doing this over the years anyway, but I wanted to express it even more. And I just want you to take a few moments so you can press pause after I say these questions or what I throw out there. Or you can just wait till after the show. You get a pad, pencil, maybe write it in your phone, wherever. And just ask yourself, how am I truly feeling? What am I truly thinking? And I say truly in there because sometimes our initial thoughts and feelings aren't exactly the reaction that we're feeling or thinking deep down inside. It's just a quick response. It's just that boom, like for example, and I'll talk more about this later, one of my nails broke off. And I was just so like, oh my gosh. But really there was no pain. It was more so, oh my gosh, another nail broke off. So my immediate reaction was like, oh my gosh. But nothing bad really happened. Okay. So check in with yourself. You can look in the mirror. You can just say, how am I feeling? And then pay attention to your body. Okay. Even some of the thoughts that come to mind. I had to catch myself too, because I see some things that people write and I just want to dig in, like, wait a minute now. But, I check myself like, you know what? You cannot have a conversation with this person because that's not what they're looking for. they're making statements that are just ridiculous. Don't even bother. Okay? Check in with yourself. You can even put your hand on your stomach, put your hand on your forehead, on the top of your head. Sort of similar to EFT when you tap and you say certain things, but this is just a check, just how am I feeling? What am I thinking? What's going on? Just like when you say the Pledge of Allegiance or anything like that, you put your hand over your heart. Just check that. Does it feel like your heart's beating too fast? Is your breath rapid? Or are you taking nice, slow, deep breaths? Or are you just taking nice breaths, period? Think about that. So just do some of those checks, that mental and emotional check. Okay, maybe you just need to write some stuff down, get something off your chest, just talk, just say, do that. So to lighten the mood, what I've been doing, particularly about Instagram, is sharing how many of my my acrylic, the nails that I get put on are breaking off. So my actual nails grow really fast. And so the acrylic I get on my nails, that also grew fast because it just pushes up. And so first one nail broke off, two nails, three. So I've been playing this little game, and then there were, X amount of nails left. And I started doing that because it reminded me of my favorite murder mystery author who, no longer living, but Agatha Christie. And she had a book called And Then There Were None. And that's where people get that phrase from when they say, and then there were two. So in her book, it was people getting killed one by one. So like, and then there were five, and then there were four. So I've been doing this, and then there were with my nails, and it's getting really funny. It's interesting because it's just, you see some nails and then you just see regular nails. It's ridiculous, but it's just to lighten the mood a little bit. What are you going to do? Okay. It's such a minor thing to get upset about. And I'm not upset about it, but it's just like, oh, there's another one. And I've been texting my friends, and it's just been like a little giggle. So think of the little giggles that you can enjoy throughout the day. Okay. Even if it's a meme, I've been seeing, don't cut your hair. Do not give yourself bangs. Okay. So what's your little giggle? What's that little thing that can help you get through the day even, a little bit better? Okay. Try to find those things. Oh, yes. So I'm looking at my notes because I want to make sure I stay on track. If you haven't already joined the Goddess Domain group on Facebook, please do. And the link for that is in the description of this episode. So I am in there often. I backed away a little bit just to give people space in that group. So I was in there almost every day, and then I give it a couple of days break because I know it could be a little bit overwhelming to post a lot of information in the group and things like that. But other women in there have been posting. So that's great. There's interaction in there. I don't want to be the one that's like, here, look at this, look at that, look at this, look at that. All right. So I give you guys space in there to just take in some of the information that I put in there. All right. So it varies from video meditations that I've created, that's actually on my YouTube channel, to lifestyle tips, witchy tips, goddess information, just various things that can help get you through the day, even about, household items that have magical abilities once you understand how to use them. There's a lot of really cool things that are around us in the world. And if we just look at it from a different perspective, we can see the magic, in and around them. All right, so go ahead, check out Goddess Domain, and go ahead and connect with the other lovely women in here. All right, before we dive into the topic, I wanted to give you one more piece of knowledge, a tip, something to help you during, especially, like I said, during this time. And so I've been doing this since I was a kid, and I talked about this on my Instagram last night. I at nighttime I would go outside, so like right in front of my house, and just soak in that nighttime air. Take some deep breaths. There's something very magical about the night, anyway. The air's it's just different. It's just different. And as a kid, my grandmother would sit outside, and in Philly and other places in the U.S., you sat outside on your step, the steps that led up to your house, and you would have a drink, so you would have a drink right there. You put on the step, and maybe you have a little radio or something like that. And we call it stooping it up because you're like on the stoop. And yeah, so at nighttime, she would just sit outside and she would have her cigarette and her drink. And sometimes a neighbor would come over and sit with her. And sometimes I would sit outside with them, especially during the summer months. It's very nice because you get that summer nighttime air. It's just nice. So when I go outside at night to get that nighttime air, I take deep breaths, and it's like I can feel the goddess at night. And if it's a full moon, I get to see the moon. I can see the stars. Okay, so I do live in a city, but I can still see the stars. So that's pretty cool. And I just don't really think about anything. I just take deep breaths. It's like the scene from Ghostbusters, don't think. So that's what I do. And it's so relaxing. It's magical. It's very calming. And I just feel like some of the things that have been on my mind get washed away by the wind. It just gets swept away, I guess would be a better word or phrase, by the wind. It's very nice. So try that. Try to get you some nighttime air. All right. Speaking of nighttime, today's a new moon. And we are going to be working with Goddess Hecate, and she is associated with the new moon, or also known as the dark moon. So that's going to be really cool. The thing about the new moon is that you can't see it. That's why it's called dark. Or that's why it's also called the dark moon. So in case you're new and you're thinking, well, I've been seeing dark moon, new moon, I don't know what it means. It's the same thing, different lingo. Okay, it's just like recently I discovered the difference between whiskey spelled with an E and without an E. I would see this, I'm like, what does that mean? It just depends on the country. That's it. Some countries spell it with an E, some countries don't. It's like color. Some spell it with a U, and some don't spell it with a U. Like in the UK, you spell color with a U. In the US, you don't. That's it. So that's it. Dark moon, you can't see it, or new moon because this is the new phase, and the moon will progressively begin to reveal itself, leading to the full moon, and then we can see it because it's full. All right, there we go. It's a quick backstory there for you. So this new moon is in the zodiac sign of Taurus, and that's one of my favorite zodiac signs. My uncle is a Taurus. Some of my good friends are Tauruses. One of my celebrity crushes, The Rock, is a Taurus. Let's throw that in there. It's that sign really deals with strong, determined energy. Not saying that other signs aren't strong and determined, but some like the water signs are more like involved with their emotions and things like that, and intuition. And when I think of the Taurus, I think of the bull, and just that strength, that get her done attitude, things like that. And of course, this also has to do with knowing the person, right? I am not an astrologer, as I said before. That is a lifelong journey. Because one of my friends, she knows astrology very well, and she explained to me, Tia, this is not something that you can learn even in 4 years. This is a lifelong thing. It's very, very, very detailed. And so what I'm saying is it's not really a general statement about this zodiac sign. It is part of the traits of the Taurus. Of course, we need to know the person and their astrological chart, because while they may be a Taurus, their sun sign, they may have more of another zodiac in their actual chart. I use myself as an example. I am a Virgo. That's my sun sign. I was born August 31st during that Virgo zodiac phase. However, there is way more Leo in my chart. Way more Leo. All right. And fun fact, I was born 2 weeks late. So I was probably supposed to be a Leo. And at the last minute, I'm just like, oh, I want to be a Virgo. So there's a lot of Leo in my chart. Strong with leadership, just lots of that Leo energy in me. All right. So I'm telling you this because this is how we can understand how some of the external influences us. Okay. We are influenced by the moon, no doubt about it. It's been scientifically proven. Okay, you can Google this. It's very interesting when you think about it. Okay, to understand what's going on helps us to get why we feel a certain way. And I even read that solar flares have an impact on us. So you may think, oh my God, what's going on? I got these thoughts and these feelings, which is another reason why I started the podcast, this episode, with that emotional mental check. You may be going through these emotions and these thoughts thinking, what is going on here? Why am I thinking this way? This is crazy. Take a deep breath and know that this zodiac paired with this moon phase sparks that feeling, sparks that thought. And side note, download the app Deluxe Moon. It's a great app because it tells you all the cycles, waning, waxing, full moon, new moon, what zodiac sign it's in, but it breaks it down so you can understand it. And it even gets deeper than that, okay? And you can sync that information with the calendar on your phone, okay? Great. It's called Deluxe Moon. It's free. It's such a good app. So here we are. And even with myself, thoughts and feelings pop up and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I hate when I feel this way because it's like going down a rabbit hole that I wasn't ready to go down. And that's why I had to remind myself, oh my gosh, that's right, it's the new moon. So of course this feeling is going to arise. So what do we do with this? What does it mean? Right now, this is a time to be aware of distractions that are hindering us from our growth. So what's hindering our growth? Okay, so I know we're going through a pandemic right now, but really think about this just on a level of, okay, what are the things I want to accomplish in life? Who do I want to be in life? Okay. Really think about this and what has been holding you back from this growth. This is important because if we can be aligned with our goals, even if we get sidetracked, there's always something that's going to sidetrack us. Okay. So what are the things that are hindering our growth? Because this is a time to get back to what makes us us, to start anew. This is a great time to get back to your roots. I mentioned before, one of my roots is reading. I love to read. I love absorbing knowledge. I can't get enough of it. Okay. So I haven't been reading enough. I was just telling people this. I think it's like early January. It was January, February, late January, early February-ish. I know this because my friend surprised me and had a book delivered to my home. It's very cool. And in hardback, which I love even more. I have posted on my social media that I want to get back to reading. And I've been thinking about that for a while. And I said, oh, I'm going to do it. And I had 2 Barnes & Noble's gift cards. One for my birthday, which is in August, and one from Christmas. And here it is, February. Okay. Yeah. And so finally, I just started reading with this pandemic. What am I doing? Right? I started reading again. that's one of my roots. I was just like, this is a great time to do this. So what was hindering me from reading? Just being distracted by life overall. Let's face it, it happens. Okay, we want to get this done, that done. Then we're so mentally and physically tired that the very things we love to do get pushed to the side, or we don't do it as much. Okay, so now is a great time to think about starting anew and how we can incorporate more of the things that make us us. Now's the time to be bullheaded, Taurus, about this, right? Non-negotiable. Don't care. I need to do this, even if it's for an hour or a day a week. This is my thing, and I need to do it. All right. Getting back to ourselves puts us a little bit at a crossroads. And this is where Goddess Hecate comes in. And I had to tell you, when I was figuring out the content for this episode, I just heard, boom, Hecate. And it was so interesting because I've been trying to figure out for a very long time how to introduce her in this podcast, because we talk about goddesses all the time. And it's mainly been about goddesses who I have worked with in the past. And I've been working with Goddess Hecate, but I didn't originally work with her. A lot of the goddesses I talk about in this podcast have been goddesses I wrote about in my first book, and some that had to do with different seasons, like Goddess Flora for springtime. Okay, so I'm very excited about this. All right, so who is Goddess Hecate? All right, well, she is, um, well, when I say triple moon goddess in this sense, and I did a little bit of research with this because I wanted to brush up on it. Her association with the triple moon, which is the maiden, mother, and crone aspect, came later. Okay, so she is known as a triple goddess because she rules over heaven, earth, and the underworld. And I associate that with the higher self, the physical self, and our subconscious. Okay. She is the goddess of magic, witches, the night, dark moon, also known as the new moon. Okay. Some of her symbols include torches, dogs, which I love personally, and snakes. And her name means worker from afar in Greek, which makes sense in a lot of ways, because what I have realized is that when divine beings are associated with the night, it tends to be that they're kind of in the background, like they're a little bit in distance, where some goddesses, other divine beings are more beside you, or, like, hey, like they're not too far away, they're like right there. Goddess Hecate is associated with crossroads. So she's holding a torch, she's holding a light, and she's guiding you, but also you have to make a choice. So here we are at a crossroads. There is a pandemic going on. People are losing their jobs. People are trying to figure out what their life will look like after this. And then some people are having a totally opposite experience where they're not impacted as harshly, but there's a lot of emotion going on. No one's going to be the same after this. No one living right now, right? Because the last major pandemic was in 1918, what that was like hugely affected the world or a lot of countries. I don't think anyone's alive from that right now. Like I'm sorry, I did not do the math to see if you're born in like 1907, how old you would be now. I know there's some people who are in their hundreds, but forgive me, I did not do the math. I literally just thought about that. We are experiencing something for the first time, and no one is really going to be quite the same, because it really makes you think about a lot of things. Okay. Everyone is impacted one way or another, but the level of impact is different. So some people who are not as impacted may think, you know what, I am going to switch careers. I'm going to go into the medical field, or I'm going to be a supplier of medical equipment. Someone may get a complete shift, okay, in mindset. have a new sense of purpose, because that's what things like this does. When there's an outcry of help, when things get shooken up, a lot of people take action. Okay, whether we know it or not. Some people, their good deeds can get noticed, and it gets put on social media, on TV, and then other times it's just done in the background from afar, like how Goddess Hecate helps. Okay, so this is a really unique position to be in. Okay, working with Goddess Hecate will help you to ascertain, how do you want to proceed with this? What do you want to do? Because right now you can be getting back to you, the essence of you. And like I said, I know it can be rough for some people. I want to thoroughly acknowledge that, because what I don't want to do is tell you some fluffy stuff and not acknowledge that everyone is going through a different experience right now. Okay? So, working with Goddess Hecate to get you on the path of starting anew, get you on the path of getting back to your roots, get you on the path that will lead you to where you need and want to be. Okay, because this Taurus energy is just steamrolling. This is like, all right, no more distractions. We are going to figure this out. Now is the time. Okay, because we're all going through cycles. Some cycles in good, and some cycles on a bad note. And this is a cycle. Okay, so how do we work with Goddess Hecate? How do we get through these cycles? What's the path to take? And what about the new moon in Taurus energy? Working with Goddess Hecate, you can do this many ways, and I will give you an example, but this is really based on how you do your work. Okay, one thing I will not do is tell you it has to be this way or it just won't work. That's not true. There are many ways to connect with the goddesses. So with Goddess Hecate, like I said, some of her symbols include the dog, the snake, torches. Now, what if you don't have a snake? What if you don't have a dog? What do you have a torch? A candle. I one year used a candle that had what was it? Some type of berry in there. It was like a mixture of different berries, and it had a beautiful smell. It was a nice candle. It was like dark purple, and it was really cool. So what if you don't have a candle? Okay. Use yourself. You can sit down, get relaxed, cast your circle. So you say, as above, so below, as within, so without. The circle is sealed, so mote it be. So you're just in a divine space. Okay, or you can imagine white light coming down and protecting you. And when you're done communicating with the goddess, you say the same thing, as above, so below, as within, so without. This circle is open, but never broken. Okay, and you're basically just, clearing up that space. Some people even sweep that area, like they're sweeping it away and sweep it like towards the door. Concentrate while you're doing this. So when you're connecting with Goddess Hecate, you can say, Goddess Hecate, I welcome you into my space, and I am seeking guidance regarding blah, blah, blah. Now, some people like to have like fruit out, something to drink out, something like that. But I'm not going to, again, pressure you to do that. There are different ways to, honor and have exchanges with the goddesses. But that's what people do. They like it's like an offering. Like, hey, it's like when you invite someone to your home, you have some snacks out. You might have some prosciutto and cheese, some grapes out, something. When you have people over, you have a spread out. It's like that. All right. So that's what you do. You may want to have a book, all right, so you can write in it, because you may get a thought, you may get a feeling, you may get a vision, you can write that out. Take note of that, and then you can proceed with that. Okay. Now, what if you do this and nothing happens? You don't feel anything. Give it some time. This may be your first time working with a goddess. Give it some time. The main point is here, you reached out. Okay. You reached out. Just be more aware. You may turn on the TV and there's nothing but commercials of dogs. And then you get a thought. Okay. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't expect something that's crazy over the top. Just focus on your breath. Okay. Just repeat her name. And there are, I think, about 1 or 2 ways to say Hecate. So you can always Google how to pronounce Hecate, and you can do it that way. But just focus on receiving while you're doing this. Focus on receiving. Okay. Goddess Hecate, I'm at a crossroads in life. Please be my guiding light. Goddess Hecate, I am trying to navigate through this thought, this feeling. What does that mean exactly? Things like that. All right. You can play music. There are a lot of things you can do with this. You can get as creative as you want, or you can keep it simple. Okay. Now, I want you to be prepared to let go. If you remember, about 2 episodes ago, the pink full moon, goddess flora, and your personal power. We talked about that power of the full moon. We talked about what it meant, because that was the beginning of something new. Springtime, that maiden aspect of the maiden mother crone, the triple moon. All right. You can go back and listen to that. That's episode 258. Now we are more towards the mother, even a crone to a certain extent, because some people have experienced certain major issues that happen. That's going to be in the history books. For example, I remember when September 11th happened, and I had walked home from school. So my school is located in Center City, my high school. And I remember just so vividly for many reasons. And so I had to wear a school uniform, and Catholic school shoes are hard, and it was fresh pair of school shoes. And I walked home. I remember it was just digging into my Achilles heel. I had the pad in the back of the shoe, but still, it was just a fresh pair of shoes. So I'm walking home, and it was getting a little bit better walking, but I was just so nervous. I didn't know what was going on, and the phones, my cell phone wasn't working. It was just like a complete and utter mess. And I'm in Philly, and that was in New York. It was a complete mess. So I walked home. And luckily, it's just a straight walk home, but it's a walk. So I get home, and I asked my grandmother, I said, what's happening? Did you see, on the news? And she goes, this is just like Kennedy, meaning President Kennedy. And it was just like, she just knew to have, she knew as a person who is aware of the situation, but not up close and personal, to have that certain level of calmness. Because, she was a mom, all right? During that time, she was already a mother. I don't remember exactly when she got divorced. So the pop I reference in my podcast is her second husband, not the first one, okay? The first husband is the husband of my mom and my uncles. She divorced him. So she was, already a woman, okay? And I came home and I'm shook up. I don't know what this means. Like, what the heck is going on? And I was in high school, so still of a a sound mind. I wasn't in grade school, but something crazy really just happened, and I don't know what. But everyone was just like, "What's going on?" Because we just couldn't communicate with anyone. And she just had that level of like that. It was just that vibe. It was something about it, and that's what I want to bring here. Is it a crazy time? Yes. Is it a time where we don't know a lot of things? Yes. Is it a time where we do know a lot of things? Yes. Can we be informed? Yes. Can we be a little bit afraid? Yes. Can we have a little bit of a emotional sidebar and regroup? Yes. We can have all these feelings and more. But the point is, we have to eventually regroup. We had to get ourselves back together, all right, and focus. What are my next steps to get through this? I'm at a crossroads. How can I pick which road? Well, that goes back to, who are you? Truly. Because if you're someone who is very, going back to the Taurus, you're very strong minded, you got a lot of grit, you're just like on it, then you're probably going to pick the path that accelerates you to the next level. You're going to be like, you know what? It's a crazy time. Some crazy things are going on, but I'm going to call this person. I'm going to email this. I don't care. I'm going to do this. And you're going to be really hardcore, boots to the ground on it. Maybe you're a person who's a little bit more sensitive. And I do not mean that in a bad way. I mean like the empath, the clairsentient people. And you just need to be in a cocoon right now. Like, this is not something that you can handle right now. You need to be in your own space. Your anxiety is up. You're just feeling a lot of emotions. And right now you need to spend this time with you before you can react. You got to be on your own pace. It's a little bit slower, but that's you. You need to detach for a little bit. Then you might be someone who's thinking, you know what? I am going to do my part, but I'm going to get from behind a computer. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to help the homeless because they don't have access to certain things. I'm going to help the people on the front line because they don't have access to certain things. I'm going to let people use my building. I'm going to donate some money. It's all about who you are. But don't kid yourself. Don't put yourself out there and you're just like, oh my God, I don't think I can really handle this at all. Now, there's two parts to that. There are people who feel that fear, feel that craziness, and they can do it anyway. And there's people who can't. And that's okay, because you know who you are. You just have to know yourself. There are some things that scare me and I'm working through it. I'm just like, you know what, I really got to break through these blocks, especially if I'm asking you to break through your blocks. And I'm not talking about if you're afraid of mice. I'm not saying if you're afraid of mice, go touch a mice, get over that fear. That's not going to help your progression in life. You can live without having to be friends with a mouse. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is something that you have to push through. Like, there's no other way around it. Okay. Blast it, whatever you got to do. That's what I'm talking about. So yes, there are things that I'm just like, I don't know about this. Feeling that fear, feeling that anxiety, feeling those emotions and doing it anyway, is some of the things that I do. And I think that's part of that Leo in me. I definitely talk a lot of things out with my best friend, or I just yell and cuss and figure it out. But what I'm saying is, get to know yourself during this time, because this is a time where we are starting anew on multiple levels. Okay. Even if a pandemic wasn't going on, this is still new moon energy with Taurus asking you to blast through those distractions, asking you to get back to what makes you, your roots, asking you to be aware that this is the time to start anew. And when I say this, I don't mean that by the next full moon, everything's going to be peaches and cream and rosy colored sky. And no, what I'm saying is we're entering a new cycle, period. Everyone's cycle is different because, like I said, with your astrological chart, you may be in some planet, whatever, ever, on top of the actual planets that are going on. So it's like so the way I describe things like this, like when we go through our cycles and then the cycle of, let's just say, like Earth, like as a whole, the collective cycle, I refer to it as the calendar year and your fiscal year, right? So businesses have their fiscal year. For example, the government fiscal year, it starts like September 1st, something like that. No, wait, October 1st. Forgive me. But it starts, yeah, I think so, whatever. It starts one of the fall months, okay? So, but the calendar year ends December 31st, right? Our personal fiscal year is our birthday, right? So from our birthday, we complete 1 year, boom, calendar year still goes on. So that's what I mean when I say. Okay, so I just double checked because it was bothering me, and I knew this. So the government fiscal year runs from October 1st to September 30th. That's why I was just like, wait a minute, is it September? Right. So October 1st, new fiscal year. All right. Yeah. So just be aware of that. There's your cycle that's going on, and then the cycle of the collective, if you will. When we are looking at why we feel a certain way, why we're thinking a certain way, what this means, look at that. Okay. So take some time to get your astrological chart done. I don't know if you can still do this. I had my chart done years ago on, I went to Robert Ohotto, Ohotto, I believe is how you spell his last name. Voice it, just go to Google, hit the microphone and say Robert Ohotto. And he does astrology, among other things. And I just got an astrological report. And then I had my good friend who is, like I said, she's deep into astrology. She explained some things to me. This is why you're in this predicament. This is why this is, and of course she was spot on. So if you don't have someone to read it for you, get that report because they break it down very well. Okay, so when you first look at it, it looks a little bit, well, not a little bit, it is above your head. It's like, okay, wait a minute, what does that mean? What is this degrees? So just take your time and just read it. You can always get someone to look at it later, like I did, but just read it, okay? It goes beyond your sun sign, okay? RobertOhotto.com, okay? Check that out. So I don't know if he still offers that astrological report, but please get it done. There is no better way to truly understand yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, because we know a lot of our strengths and weaknesses, but we don't know the source of it. Imagine if you read your astrological chart and they explain to you why you're in this particular relationship or why you're not in a relationship, why you're such a strong in your face leader, or why you're such a more relaxed, not so in your face leader. What if you were able to understand the root of that? And now it holds more meaning than, oh, I'm a Scorpio. That doesn't hold water. So, and I really have to stop saying so. I'm practicing this, but it seems like it's not working. I got to practice harder. Forgive me. All right. Make the time to get to know Hecate. This is going to require you to do some more research. And I always encourage this because what I tell you is a brief introduction. The more you read up on something, the more you can familiarize yourself with it, and the more you are able to take away certain messages that you need to receive. Okay? The deeper you dive into something, the more you will learn about yourself and the better path you can pick for yourself. So again, imagine her. There's a crossroads. There are three paths. She's standing right there at like the fork in the road, and you're trying to figure out which path to go on. And there's no wrong path. It's just the path that's right for you at this time. Okay, so you can go down path number one to your left, and that path may be it for you for 2-3 years. The next thing you know, she appears again because you're at another crossroads, and now you're going to make a right. Okay, and that path may be good for you for 5 years. All right, 10 years. That's the point I want to make here. When we have zero distractions, or when we become aware of the distraction and regroup, we'll get farther in life. Distractions show up as people. Distractions show up as, oh my gosh, I need to look at TV more. I need to go into social media more. Distractions show up. You know what it reminds me of? I like giving visuals because I'm a visual learner, and I like making movie references. So my favorite movie is Goodfellas. Love that movie. I love Robert De Niro, love Joe Pesci, love Ray Liotta, but Robert De Niro is my favorite actor in the entire world. Love him. And this one scene, Ray Liotta is and I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. So again, don't beat me up. Anyway, he's playing Henry Hill, and he's sitting in a car, and this is the beginning of the end part of the movie. He's sitting in a car, and he knows he's being watched. He's been seeing a helicopter all day, and he thinks that his days are numbered with the mob. He is just like, oh my gosh, like I gotta fill in there, something's going on. He pulls in the driveway of his home, and he hears like, get out the car, freeze. And at that point, he has an internal moment where he's thinking, he goes, I know it wasn't one of the good fellas, because they come to you as your friends. They don't, yell, freeze, all that stuff. They come to you as your friends before they kill you. Basically what he's saying. And that's how distractions show up. They come to you as something that's friendly, chilled, no harm, no foul. Hey, you want to do this? Hey, you want to do that? Don't forget this. Don't forget that. It's just one episode. I have no problem, just as a side note, with people binge watching something on Netflix. We all need to do it from time to time. Yes, that is a need. Okay, we need to detach and watch something on Netflix. I am not one of those people that think, or post that meme, while you were spending an hour watching TV, I was building an empire. Empires aren't built in an hour anyway. Hello? Okay? If you want to spend a weekend and watching Netflix because you had a very rough week and you need to detach, do it. You know you. No one can tell you about you better than you once you know your true self. So if you need that weekend to detach, to just spend that time in a little bubble, and then you come out with a bang, but you needed that bubble time, use that bubble time. Okay? But what I'm saying here is to be conscious of distractions that show up when you don't want it. Okay? Now, when you want that distraction, when you want to unplug, that's perfectly fine. But I'm talking about that person who's always coming to you. I'm talking about just spending way too much time on social media. I'm talking about avoiding certain things, whatever it is. Distractions show up as your friend. They show up as something harmless. They show up as this no big deal. And then next thing you know, weeks, months, years go by. Okay. And some people say, oh, that's just procrastination. You don't really procrastinate something that you're passionate about. If you procrastinate, it's because you're just really not interested. You don't want to do it. I don't think procrastination is a thing. If you really want to do it, you do it. That's it. You just do it. It's something you want to do. If you don't really care for it, you just don't do it. You just don't care. All right. You either care or you don't. All right. To wrap this up, one, really have a conversation with yourself. Okay. Use this new moon energy to get back to the very essence of who you are. Let me tell you, I cannot wait till this pandemic's over because I want to get more spiritual tattoos. Like, there are some things that I want to do that will help me to dive more into my spirituality. My tattoos, I'm just looking at them now. They have spiritual meaning. I mean, I am going to get an Eagles tattoo, but that's a different story. But I want to dive more into my spirituality. And part of that is me going to festivals, brunch. Spirituality is a lifestyle. Okay. And when you incorporate working with divine beings, when you incorporate looking at the world through a different lens, then guess what? It gets just that much better. I'm excited for that. So it's giving me something to look forward to. One thing, of course, I'm looking forward to many other things, like people getting healthy, less people dying from this pandemic, things like that. But what I'm saying is, I am going to be even more in touch with what makes me me, and that's creativity. I look at tattoos as something that is sacred. It is an expression of art, well, because it is art, but it's creativity. When you look at the meaning of tattoos in different cultures, it gives you a whole new perspective. It's interesting. So take some time to do that too. So I really hold a high regard for tattoos, and especially people who are talented tattoo artists. I absolutely love it. Like, I compliment random people on their tattoos. They love it. Anyway, get back to what makes you you by asking yourself, who am I truly? Like, who are you? Really, who are you? Show more of that. As people say, let your freak flag fly, right? So whatever makes you you, run with that. And I understand sometimes you had to be a little bit more conscious about that, because I had met a guy who he's what is he? He's a an angel card reader. He's gay, and he lives in an area where spirituality and being gay is not cool. So I get that, sometimes you can't show your full self because sometimes you gotta worry about your protection. I get that. Your safety. I get that. But when you can, show up. When you can, bask in your own radiance. When you can, whenever you can, how often you can. Okay? Like I will always say, I will never discount a person's situation, and I will not give you fluff and act like you can be yourself 100% all the time. Sometimes you do have to worry about your safety. Okay? I get it. Okay? I'm aware of that. All right? It's not easy, especially when we remember our past lives and we haven't worked through some of our past lives, and we worry about showing up, because what if we get discovered? What if someone knows? it's a lot that goes with spirituality, and I get it, on top of everything else. All right. But really truly focus on how you can be you, how you can let more of you show. Understand your cycles, that we're entering a new cycle. Okay. Understand that your distractions show up as your friends. Understand that Goddess Hecate, goddess of the night, is here to guide you. Goddess of witches, goddess of magic. All right. Triple goddess. Remember what I said earlier, heaven, earth, underworld that she rules over, higher self, physical self, subconscious. Okay. It reminds me of back in high school, what is it? The id, the ego, and what's the other one? I forget. But it talks about, different parts of self. Really look into that. All right. Get your astrological chart done. Think of some ways you can have your little giggles. Okay. So if your little giggle to just give you like a little laugh, make something a little bit lighthearted, go to my Instagram page, Tia_Johnson_ countdown, my nails chipping off, popping off. Okay. But most importantly, understand the impacts you have to face. Okay. Understand the energies around you. Okay. Get to know the moon cycles. Get to know, at least on its surface, the meaning of the zodiacs, because those energies impact you. Okay. It impacts others as well. Whether they know it or not, it doesn't matter, but it does impact them. Remember what I said earlier, it's been scientifically proven, not that we need that, because we've known just internally that the moon does impact especially our emotions. Okay. But for those who need that, it has been scientifically proven that the moon influences us. Okay. Get to know this. Get to know this. Because that is part of what makes you, you. Everyone handles these cycles differently. Okay. That's what I had for you today. Don't forget to check out was it 2 episodes ago where we talked about the pink full moon, goddess Flora, and you, because that deals with cycles, because that's the maiden archetype, spring, newness, rebirth of things. That's the cycle. All right, remember I said there's the calendar year and then our fiscal year. Calendar year, we're in spring, but your fiscal year, we're going through this. All right, just new moon, etc., etc. All right, I am sending you so many blessings, spiritual trailblazer. Please be kind to yourself. Until next time.
As always, spiritual trailblazer, thank you for tuning in. Do make sure to stop by and visit me at tiamariejohnson.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Last but not least, be kind to yourself. I'm rooting for you, and I'm sending you so many blessings. Until next time.